Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your typical host, loving to sit in and talk about all the fun off-road racing that we've had going on throughout the nation. Not too much stuff. Obviously, there's things like Alex Salvini, if you want to get into the World Enduro Circuit, unfortunately breaking his collarbone, but that's typically not news for this show. If we could get him on, we would. But we love to talk to all of our local boys, and I say local because they're Americans, and Americans are kicking ass in this country while we're racing dirt bikes, and that's fun. We'll take some of the Euros, too. They're all right. You know, the Aussies, they put up with us. But Seat Time. So what is Seat Time? Seat Time is the online show for the off-road enthusiast. If you enjoy riding a dirt bike, you watch your son ride a dirt bike, you watch your daughter ride a dirt bike, if you just remember how much fun it was to just lay back on the throttle, riding on two wheels, maybe on the dirt, possibly every now and again on the street illegally, then this is definitely the show for you. I do want to say it is craft beer week. So to any and all of you out there enjoying a beer while we're doing this show, I salute you because you should be. And to give, what's the word? To be like, awesome job, guys, for making good craft beer. I want to say congrats to the guys over at Omission. That is what I am drinking tonight. Their pale ale. It's the good stuff. You just got to have fun with it. So bam. There you go. That's what you should be drinking. You should be having some gluten-free beer like I am. So Seat Time, you can definitely find all of the sites, if you're not catching us live, all the episodes on the site. So it's seattime.co. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, all of those kinds of fun things. You can search for Seat Time, and you'll find us any of those ways. But if you do want to catch archives of the show, again, of course, they'll be on the site. YouTube is a good way to do it. You can subscribe to us there on YouTube, or on Stitcher and iTunes is a great way if you're just looking for audio. I know a lot of people driving to and from work, maybe sometimes while they're at work, or I guess if you're hiding in the back of the classroom while you're in class and you're pretending to actually be there doing something useful, but you just want to waste time with podcasts, this is the podcast to waste your time on. Listen to Seat Time. We want everybody out there to have fun and enjoy the show with us. So again, it's Craft Beer Week. If you're not cracking open a beer, or if you're legally able to do so, please do that and enjoy it with us. Of course, we would not be here without our great supporters, guys over at Fly Racing, which we will be giving another award away through the chat room. I'm going to go over that in a little bit. The guys over at Stillwell Performance, great way to get yourself suspended awesomely. And have your dirt bike rocking and kicking ass on all the rocks, roots, and trees that we run through in there. And tonight we welcome a new sponsor, the guys over at Dirt Tricks. Super excited to have those guys on board and supporting the show and supporting all of you off-road racers, which they've obviously been supporting the off-road racers for a very, very long time, since 2002 when they got started. If you don't know about the Ironman sprocket, definitely head to their website, dirttricks.com, and find out more about those guys. But we will be discussing them a little bit later when we like to talk about all of our sponsors. So what was I talking about? We're going to give away stuff. Whoa, yeah! So the chat room award. What we're going to do here with Fly Racing is giving away another great piece of swag. This may be for people that like to dress up a little bit more and do some fun stuff. They're giving away one of their polos. And the way to do that is best question in the chat room. I feel like I'm all over the place tonight. I'm just kind of like tlk.io/seattime. That was not just a bunch of letters with a couple punctuation pieces in there. tlk.io/seattime is the chat room web address. So get in there, and with that, you can then submit your questions for riders like Robby Bell, if you have one directly for him, or if you have one later for Cody Webb, then I can ask him for that. Or if you just have random off-road questions that you would like us to ask and discuss, we can do that as well. So please, get in the chat room, ask your questions, submit yourself, and we will pick one by the end of the show that is just like, bam, you're going to get some free shit. Of course, Dirt Tricks is going to be giving away a free sprocket, and I want to talk about that. So how is that going to happen? So we posted a picture just a few minutes ago on Instagram, and with that picture is Eric Kudla right next to his sprocket. The question is, how many hours does that sprocket have on it? The person who gets closest to it wins. Now, I'm going to say, let's do this through Twitter. So at seattime_CO, you could even just put the numbers, but we would prefer that you put hashtag SeatTimeLive and then the number that you think that sprocket has on it. And that person is going to win. The first person that's closest or actually gets the number. So I've done way too much talking. I apologize. We're actually on time tonight. It's blowing my mind. I just feel like I need to talk too much, so it just allows us to feel like we're actually late. So before I just go completely overboard, Mr. Robby Bell, thank you for being on Seat Time for the second time in your illustrious off-road career. How is your evening going, kind sir?
Going really well, and I'm really impressed that you're on time too. I remember last time we had a few issues getting the FaceTime up and running, so it feels good to be on time.
Oh, doesn't it? It does. It's just like, whoo! I'll be honest, we've had quite a few technical issues the past couple shows, and it's just random stuff. Like you come in, you're like 750, we've gone through all of our little checklist, and we're like, yeah, ready to go, get people called in, and all of a sudden it's like shit just hits the bed. And you're like, what the? So it feels weird to actually be on time right now, as I have to say. So in relation to that, if you were to be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about. There was a time when I thought my motorcycle was totally prepped, but something was broken or missing or just, off the charts wrong, and it totally threw your mind for a loop. Has something like that ever happened to you on your motorcycle?
Not during, but after the fact. I was actually at Mammoth a couple of years ago, and I noticed my bike started smelling a little off, and I come in and realize after about 20 minutes of practice there wasn't any oil in the machine. So that was a bit of a, oh dang, we need to remedy that situation real quick. Luckily the Kawasaki held together. Apparently you can run them for 20 minutes without oil and not too much damage occurs. It actually lasted the whole week up at Mammoth, and didn't have any issues.
Wow, man, that's pretty impressive that you were able to figure out what that smell was so quickly after that practice, and then that it held together and kept going. I one time realized that I say somebody because I really don't know what happened, honestly. It may have leaked out, whatever, but started an enduro, and I remember going through all my checklists the Saturday night before, and there was radiator fluid, for sure. Well, 3.5 miles into the race, there was not radiator fluid, and I had a seized engine, and that sucked. So sometimes shit happens and people are bitches. I don't know. Or just the karma wants to kick in the dick. I don't know. It can get weird. So WORCS has been interesting. Obviously, now that you are the current champion, 2013 WORCS champion, we did not get a chance to talk to you at the end of the season last year. So tell us a little bit about how that was for you. How did everything wrap up, at the end of the season?
Well, last year went pretty amazing for me. It's one of those years when it kind of everything came together, and just physically with my program, the bike was awesome all year. My team was awesome all year. But really, I just enjoyed the WORCS series. Enjoyed racing it. All the venues that that it goes to, and especially the competition. The only thing I was kind of bummed about, I wasn't able to beat Taylor heads up. I haven't beat that guy heads up, and he's obviously he's one of the fastest guys on the West Coast, and he was killing it, when there was a really deep field at work. So I've always had a goal to want to beat him. I like Taylor, really enjoy racing him. It's nothing personal. I just really wanted to beat him, just kind of have that under my belt. But that aside, the year was awesome for me to get the championship, to have some great battles with guys like Justin Jones and Bobby Garrison and Taylor as well. I got close a couple times, but never quite pulled it off. But from the very first, the start of the year to get my first win, it was pretty emotional just because I've been racing this series since 2005. So what is that? Almost 8 years?
Yeah.
8 years racing it, and to finally get that win, that was pretty emotional, just for myself, my family, everybody that had been supporting me. They kept telling me I had the talent to do it. It was more just me finally, doing it.
Right.
And then to go on and have the season that I did, getting I think 4 wins and being on the podium all but one round, it was definitely a great year for me.
Cool. Yeah, well, congratulations on that, because like I said, we didn't really get a chance to thank you or to congratulate you and to talk to you. But I have to ask, one of the things that I kind of talked to Gary Sutherlin about, I was like, man, you've got couple wins right now. You're doing pretty awesome. I was like, say you randomly, say you get the championship. What are your expectations for the next year? Does it look like WORCS is on a track to where it could pick up a little bit more money in the sense of teams and sponsorships and things like that? That was kind of what I asked him. So I want to ask you that same question, but maybe in retrospect to last year's championship. So when you got that championship, how much did a lot change for you when it comes to support and sponsorship and things like that for racing the WORCS Series moving into 2014?
For me personally, it did. It kind of went hand in hand with Taylor moving to KTM from Kawasaki, so it opened up a little bit of their budget, and they were able to step up and support me, which I really appreciate. It's been huge this year. So for me personally, it has. From a bigger picture standpoint, I mean, we're definitely still kind of in a valley. I'd say, you know, if you want to look at it almost like a roller coaster, we're still in a valley as far as the attendance and everything. But I think maybe not next year, but in the next few years, I think it's going to start picking up. I almost see it right now. People just kind of want to have fun on their dirt bikes. That's where you're seeing more attendance at like one-off events, like the Big Sky type of events, even though I know that's not running anymore. Just because people are looking for a little more unique kind of events. You know, they don't want the grind so much right now just because things are a bit tougher. But I do believe in the next couple of years, it's going to start turning around. I think people are going to come back to more of a solid series that they know and enjoy. And WORCS is making some steps to make it a little more family oriented too. They're doing stuff to kind of up the fun level, make it a little more casual, a little more laid back. And I think that's showing through. I think people are enjoying it a little bit more.
Yeah, one of the big things that did come across when we were talking with Gary 2 weeks ago was that there have been some noticeable changes within the WORCS series, and he as well mentioned the family aspect of it. How do you feel? Have the tracks changed, and how do you feel they've changed? For good, for worse, for just different? Kind of tell us. Just because the only reason I ask is because it seemed like for a while people were saying, "Oh, WORCS is feeling so much more moto-esque opposed to off-road-esque."
It was feeling a little more moto-ish. I think that was around the time when things started going south as far as entries, and they were just trying to find almost their identity a little bit, because it had been kind of going more towards the moto aspect just because the speeds were going up. We were getting more entries from the motocross, discipline. So it was kind of a natural progression, I feel, or almost like an unquestioned progression. But now I feel like they're almost kind of redefining their identity, trying to make the tracks a little more off-road-ish. It's never going to be, I think, completely off-road just because it is a closed course Grand Prix, setup. But along with being the super events now where they have the quads, they have the UTVs, it is definitely a little more, they go for a little more flow, a little more off-road feel, just because that's going to, help the quads and the UTVs as well. They don't have quite as much single track. Just depending on the venue, sometimes they'll throw in, a few sections if it's available. But for the most part, I've noticed they're a little faster, a little more flowing courses.
Cool. Yeah, and you mentioned it, the super event. GNCC does have a couple of those where they've got the quads, the UTVs, and then obviously the bikes. And that was one of the ones we got to go to, Big Buck. And it was super cool to watch all of that take place in one weekend. That was my first GNCC to attend for racing. And it was really neat. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they have to be very well organized. Obviously, any series that's going to do that kind of super event has to be very well organized. And I thought it was neat how they had, the kind of the middle length track that the quads are going to race on. They shortened it to, for the UTVs just so it was pretty much all the wider trail. And then they elongated it for the bikes and added like specific single track type stuff. I have a feeling that, it sounds like, and having talked to different people, that the WORCS series does kind of know how they're slowly progressing into what they want to be on the West Coast. And I think that if they can keep heading that direction, they probably will be able to get that extra time and extra manpower to really head out and create some of those, more single track specific sections. So that way, even though they do have larger super events, that the bikes and the guys can kind of still get some of their more specific type of track and terrain like that, which do a lot of the, I guess the question there is, do you think a lot of the venues would have the ability to kind of cater to some single track if people had the time to go make it?
It depends, because it changes from year to year. Like last year with Honey Lake, yeah, you obviously had some more single track there just because it's a little more available. Going up to Catalina, Washington this year, there's definitely going to be single track through the trees just because, it's there. So
it's
I think
Washington.
depending... Washington, there's trees, and I stare at them, and then I hit them. What's with that? But
it'll happen.
But no, I think like you said, as it's available, they do split the courses a little bit. I think they're they're kind of a little bit in a rebuilding phase, just with their, like I said, trying to find their identity. With the staffing, just getting everything fully organized. So I think right now too, the UTV side of it's growing so crazy. I think everybody's trying to keep up with that.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous that there's like 35 UTV pros and something like 70 or 75 total UTV entries. It's just crazy, especially at Havasu, watching them go around that whooped out course. It's unbelievable that they last. And then watching them do the lagoon double, like last year at Glen Helen, they had a water jump, and that was like the fan favorite. There was probably hundreds of people in this tiny area, packed in just watching this water jump. And that was like the fan favorite, and watching cars almost flip, watching wheels bust off. It was crazy and hectic, and I know the WORCS crew were sweating it just because it was a little scary, but it was a fan favorite, and it's apparently it's really hot right now, so go figure.
It's interesting that you say that. I didn't know that the WORCS series was like that, but definitely Steven, our producer, the gentleman behind the camera right now, with the computer, he did get a chance to race do a ride along with the KR4 guys in their UTV, and he loved it, like absolutely loved it. Now he is a UTV, he's a side-by-side guy, like that's what he does for fun on the weekends when he can get out. He'd just never been able to race like at that level. But I would agree. I know I was surprised at the turnout, and not just in the pro turnout. I think with the pros, I saw what I was expecting to see. There was 1 to 2 really big rigs that had crazy amount of money. There's like ridiculous amounts of money to throw down on these UTVs. But I think the amount of like sport and novice kind of guys was what actually kind of threw me off. I was like, there was a lot of guys out there that wanted to kick ass and race their UTV, regardless of it being, something you'd use on your ranch or one that was like made to race. So it's pretty interesting.
It's amazing too, just with how, if people are gonna stay racing stuff right now because of the cost, that's what surprises me, because the UTVs it's like buying a car, and it's crazy to me. And then the upkeep, because every race, even if you have a perfect race, you're gonna bust something.
Yep.
So the upkeep on them, it's a lot of work. My parents' shop, Precision Concept, got a couple UTVs in, and Phil was working on it. He's just like, man, just to do anything on the UTV, it's a lot of work. So that definitely surprises me that so many people are into it, and I think that's why I don't know if it's gonna follow like the supermoto fad, where it was like big for a few years and then kind of just faded away, and a few people still do it, but it's not that big, or if it's gonna stand the test of time. It's still, I think, too early to call that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wouldn't even have thought of that. It could be like supermoto, where it was really hot and then just kind of petered off. So I'm not too sure. What did we just lose? Is he still there?
It says pause.
Huh. Go over there and see what happened. Well, that's interesting. We're looking at the computer, and all of a sudden it's like, where did he go? Oh my gosh, he just disappeared. Oh, that's fun. It just like totally went to another screen.
Yeah, it said pause on my screen.
Oh. Hold, please.
Yeah.
We're taking a quick break so that we can all go make fun of somebody. No. Okay, we had a couple questions from the chat room. And one of them was from B. Williams 524, and he wanted to know, do you still use gel and teeth whitening strips?
No, I don't actually. And
I gave up on those, huh?
Yeah, I brushed my teeth actually with organic earth minerals and some volcanic ash. And no joke either. I could go get it for you. It's this product called Oralive. My wife makes fun of me too, because she's a orthodontic assistant. She's like, "What are you doing brushing your teeth with that bit?" It's just me. I read something, I'm like, "That sounds good. Let me do that," and I haven't stopped.
Oh my God! So your wife? You said she's like a dental assistant, like a dental hygienist, or?
Dental assistant for an orthodontist.
Okay. And she's pretty much said you're crazy for using that?
She makes fun of me. She doesn't use the word crazy. She calls me a nerd. That's our inside joke right now. Anytime I read something new, she's like, "Nerd alert."
That's pretty wicked. I mean, that's some serious commitment to your teeth, to straight up. So if you went to Hawaii, would you just like jump on the volcano and like try to like rub your teeth into it, just getting them all shiny?
Well, it would need to be dormant for a while,
That's
and then
true.
I'd have to I'd have to look at how the Aboriginals or Indigenous gathered it and processed volcanic ash, because there is a tried and true method, I'm sure, that probably, has been handed down for generations. So I'd have to learn that knowledge before I actually committed to doing it myself.
This sounds like a big process. I think the right way to do it is the way you're doing it and buying it in a tube.
Yeah, it's much easier that way.
I like it. Okay, you're also a big desert racer. You've been doing some of the score races and some of the other events down there. And we did have a question from the chat room from Mopar, and he wanted to know, were there any big name U.S. racers or any racers, or maybe yourself that would like to go down to Australia and be able to race, like the Fink or the Hada. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, so I'm just going to say it wrong. But the big desert racers down there.
I'd definitely be interested in it. I definitely need, as far as I know anyway, to have to build a special bike for that Fink, because I heard it's ridiculous, the speeds and the whoops, and the speed that these guys carry over the whoops. I've heard it's pretty scary, but I'd definitely be interested in it. I don't know if there's really anybody else that's interested in having me go over there right now.
Right. It seems like watching a lot of the videos that come out of Australia when it comes to their 4-day and some of the other big events that they have, like the Fink. You don't see anything but KTM's and Yamahas. Is that? Do you notice that? I mean, I could imagine that it's like to get Cowie to be like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's go down and get some presents. It's almost kind of like, why? Because maybe they don't distribute bikes down there, or a very small number of them. But it seems a little lax.
It could be, because I think Mexico, it's KTM's and Hondas dominate everything. So it could just be country to country based on their importing or whatever it is. So yeah, I think it might be kind of tough to sell the idea.
So if we could, though, you'd do it.
I'd do it. I'd just click up to 5th, maybe get a special motor in my Cowie, get 6 or 7 gears, and click up to maximum, just that throttle to the wide open position and never let off.
What is it ludicrous speed? From Star Wars? Oh no,
yeah.
That's Spaceball Star Wars from Spaceball.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ludicrous speed.
I think my eyes would be about that big though the whole time.
They've gone to plaid. That would be pretty intense. I mean, that would literally be strapping a jet engine to your butt.
Ridgecrest this weekend was pretty fast, but I think that would be just a little bit quicker.
Okay. Great tie-in. So tell us about this weekend where you got your first win of the 2014 series, because not to say that you might have been having bad luck, things like that, but talk us through a little bit of this season in WORCS and how it's gone for you, and then what it took for you to get to the point where you could, come away with the win that you did this past weekend.
Well, I haven't been shy about expressing that it's been a tough year for me, and it kind of goes back to the Baja 1000 last year. I mean, that was just a tough 1000 for everybody. But for me personally, I suffered a pretty bad crash. Only made it about 10 miles into my ride, and had to hop in the helicopter because I wadded up at like 60. And so after that, I was struggling with a shoulder and an ankle injury, and that carried into about mid-January. And then I was just starting to feel pretty good. Taft was fairly solid for me. And then just after that, I was actually at Glen Helen training a little 8-year-old kid on his mini bike, and he crashed on the backside of a jump. And so I stopped behind him to help him, and a guy behind me was in midair and landed on my knee and took me out. So that actually sent me onto the couch for about 3 weeks. So from there, right about the time my knee started feeling better, I raced the 6 hour and just had a little nothing high side, but put out my hand just wrong and hurt my wrist. So really this year's just kind of been one injury to the next. Nothing major other than the knee really, but it's just been tough to try to get into any kind of rhythm or program as far as training. So I felt kind of behind the 8 ball, but having said all that, Gary's just been killing it and his confidence has been gaining. So for me to finally feel pretty good this weekend and be able to come out on top, it was definitely a good time. And it kind of goes back to last weekend too, racing the Silver State 300. I did that solo, and to get 300 miles under my belt and get actually really close to the wind, or to getting the win, right, and in the dust all day behind 2 bikes, that was pretty good for my confidence mentally and physically. So to come into this weekend in a course that was just about as fast, there were a lot of 5th gear straightaways. It was kind of tailor made for me to make finally make a comeback and get my first win of the year and feel like, like I'm earning that number one plate now, because it's been kind of tough this year to have the number one on there and not be representing it, and my sponsors as well,
Right. Yeah, it's we've kind of been seeing some interesting back and forth go on in the GNCC series. A lot of people, we had a big discussion about it here before the GNCC series started up. It's like, can Caleb Russell become a back-to-back, GNCC champion? Because we've only had like 2 Europeans do it in the in the 2000s, be able to do something like that. And I kind of was like, you know what? I don't think he can. Like, it was, and I had my reasons. If anybody really wants to dig into it, you can go back and check out that episode. And I've completely taken that back. I know now that if anybody's going to do it, it is Caleb Russell. It's interesting, but he literally was like, he had a really bad wreck and came all the way from the back and was just like, I had to ride like a champion. It's like, if I didn't ride like a champion, I knew I wouldn't have a chance at winning the championship again. And I think it's something that you're kind of learning about too, is that it's how hard it is to defend that number one plate. Be it obviously you had all kinds of stuff going on, but I don't even know, maybe sometimes if you come in perfectly healthy, feeling the best ever, does there add like mental pressure as well that you kind of like maybe add to yourself that people don't even know about unless they talk to you about it all the time?
I think at the very beginning of the year, I didn't have any of that extra pressure. I was just, I was fresh off of the, recovering from the Baja injury. So I didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but it is one of those things, if you don't get a win right away, or if you don't perform, the way you're expected to, or the way you expect yourself to right away, then it starts creeping into your head like, oh man, I have this number one plate and I'm not winning. What's the deal? Did I really deserve it last year? Am I going backwards? Is everybody else getting faster? Those little questions do creep in. So I think it's something, you're more susceptible to those questions and that doubt the longer you go without performing. And that's definitely what happened to me. I got to Havasu, and that was just after my knee, and I've just basically rode around, and way underperformed. And from there, it's really just been building myself back up physically. And then once I got to the point where physically I felt decent, then it was the mental game, and that's where the last couple of weeks I finally felt a bit of a breakthrough.
Yeah, cool. Well, now that you do kind of have that confidence and you're able to kind of mentally sit back and go like, you know what, bam, it's there. Yeah, it was a tough start, but here it is. I was able to pull this off. What's the carryover into the next round and to the rest of the season to kind of keep up that momentum?
For me personally, it's just about a solid routine. I even if I wasn't racing, I'd be training just because I love pushing my body. So for me, that's not really an issue. I enjoy going to the gym, going for runs, things like that. So just getting into the routine of that and pushing my body the way I enjoy is that carries over into the mental game. When you show up on the weekend, you've been, killing it in the gym or killing it on the runs, doing whatever you're doing for cross training. You just feel like a badass. And so I think that's kind of the key for me, is just getting that, puffing my chest out a little bit, feeling like I've been killing it, off the bike to kill it on the bike.
Yeah. You said you kind of like to, you get really involved and get really into the stuff when it comes to your body and training and things like that. And then there's also the nerd alert that your wife was talking about. So tell us a little bit about what you're nerding out about now, besides your teeth cleaning habits.
What am I not nerding out about?
Maybe that's a better question.
Maybe it is. Well, after actually you mentioned the gluten-free beer, and we talked about that a little bit last time on the show. And after going gluten-free, which helped me a lot with my performance on the track and my health off of it.
What about in the bed?
More or less went kind of paleo primal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And then I even actually dabbled with fasting and just eating one meal a day in the evening, even on days that I was training, even on races actually, not eating any food before the races, and basically training and performing in a fasted state. And now my latest is actually starting to learn a little bit about wild foods and wild plants, and going that route. I even have some sandals that have some little mini conductors in the soles of them, so I can feel the magnetic field of the earth, and ground my body with the magnetic field. So what am I not nerding out about right now?
So is that like the little bracelets that people were wearing to, like, I don't even remember. I just laughed at them.
It's a concept. I actually sleep. My bed has 2 sheets of magnets underneath the mattress to stimulate the Earth's magnetic field. So it's the same idea, I guess. But the thing is, when you wear rubber soled shoes, that cancels out the grounding basically. So the idea with these, I actually have them on right now. Let me pull it off. The idea with these, you see the little grounding things on the bottom that pushes the Earth's magnetic field through to you, so you're grounded. So theoretically, you're healthier, your body's functioning better. Another thing I read about and said, hey, sounds good to me, I'm going to try it.
And?
I enjoy them. I haven't gone for a run in them yet. That's the next step. I've only had them for about a week and a half.
So they're shoes or sandals?
They're sandals. They're, Katie calls them Jesus sandals, except they're a little girlier because you can see how small the straps are. They're kind of girly.
Right.
But super thin because I'm all about the minimalist as well.
Right.
So I was wearing them all weekend at Ridgecrest, and that was the joke between me and Timmy Sheldman, one of the race coordinator. He's like, "Are you feeling grounded?" I'm like, "I'm feeling so grounded. I'm feeling so grounded. I think it's going to help me win." But so people were making fun of me all weekend, but I don't mind. It's my nerd side, so I embrace it.
Right. It's what keeps you sane and what keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a fun one. When was the last time you got to go to Disney World or Disneyland in your case?
Disneyland. When was the last time? It would have been a few weeks ago. We're always going, but actually, we're actually going this Friday. My wife and I are meeting a couple of friends of ours, Clayton and Debbie. We'll be hanging out there all day Friday, probably into the evening, and then actually this September we're going to Disney World for the first time. So now you want to see a nerd alert? Wait until my wife sees Harry Potter Land.
Dude, you have no idea. We were supposed, because the new Harry Potter world is opening this summer, which is probably why you guys are going later in the year.
Yeah.
But we were supposed to be going this summer, and we were going to be taking our oldest, Kaylin, who just turned 8. But, that was what we were planning for last year. But, of course, my wife got pregnant, so we just had our new baby. She's 2 months old, so obviously we're not going to leave her with any, there's just no way to leave her with anybody, and we don't want to take kids to that whole thing. So next summer, the plan is to make it to Disney World again and take Kaylin and obviously Tam, because neither of them have been to Disney World, and then to be able to go to Harry Potter World, all aspects of it at Universal. I'm totally stoked.
Yeah, and we're going to be standing in the 2-hour wand line, so she can have the wand choose her. And she showed me a YouTube video of the new Gringotts Bank or whatever with the goblins. They're all lifelike and animatronic, and that was the source of a lot of excitement for her. So I'm really excited. Like, first of all, I wanted it to be in a helmet just because I think that would be funny. And then I want to get one of those GoPro rigs that shines back at her face and shines at what she's looking at. So you can her go out of her mind. I think she might shed some tears when she sees the entrance.
This is awesome.
I envision her getting there and getting the wand, and then just feeling like she belongs and never wanting to leave. Like she'll probably stay there. And she actually just peeked through the door, and she's a little upset at me right now for saying all that.
Oh, well, I remember last time that you were on, she came in into the show and delivered dinner. So I just want to put it out there while we're still on. She's more than welcome at any point in time to come back in and give us more awesome stuff about you. That's totally fine. We love that kind of stuff. We're very interactive here at Seat Time. We take what we can get, and we're not afraid or ashamed of it. But I think I am very, very excited about the new Harry Potter World opening, the second part of it. I have not been to the first part. My sister has. I'm very jealous of that lady. I don't think I'd actually do the wand thing, though. Like, if I walked up and it was like, hey, nobody's here, you want to do it? I'd be like, cool, let's do it. But I don't think I would wait for it. I want magic to be real, but the problem is I know it's not real. So the wand's not really choosing me. But
it's the principle of the matter.
Oh, I hear you. If Hermione was there, I'd totally get in trouble for talking bad, but...
Well, and you got to understand, too, that we actually just went to the Renaissance Fair. And so we're thinking of launching our own Renaissance Fair, but making it like a Harry Potter fair. So everybody dresses up. It's basically a Harry Potter world that's fully interactive. So we're going to be launching that probably in 2017. Look for that on the West Coast, right next to Disneyland.
So, damn it, I almost for a second was like, I think he's serious. What would be interesting, though, you say that, is you're talking about the Renaissance Fair. Is that a true statement? Did you guys just go to the Renaissance Fair?
We did, and we actually felt really out of place for not having dressed up.
Right.
And then the other thing is when they talk to you in, like the old English fashion or whatever. You find yourself talking back to them that same way, except you have no idea what to say, so it just comes out like gibberish.
That's so true. It's funny because my wife and I, and even before my wife and I, when it was just me and whomever, whatever friend or person I was around with, I loved going to Renaissance festivals, and I still do. Those are so much fun to go to. There's two in Texas, one that's kind of close to us here in Waxahachie. That's good, the Scarborough Fair. It's not bad. Like, if you've never been to one before, it's a decent one to go to, but the really good one's down in Conroe, and it's nationally known, and it is awesome. It is super cool to go to, and there are the crazy people that dress up. My parents and my wife and stuff give me so much shit for not dressing up. And I'm like, hey, we're going to be walking around all day. All day. I want to be in the most comfortable shit possible. So. Yeah,
how do they walk around in the stuff that they walk around in? Because even my wife, like, if we dressed up, she's like, I want to go big and dress up in the huge, gigantic, I don't even know what you call them, but the big dresses with the corset and all that. And I'm like, that's going to be so freaking hot all day. But at the same time, when you show up there, everybody's wearing it. Like, we were in the minority just being in, shirt and shorts and my sweet sandals. So they make you actually want to dress up just because everybody's in character. And they're actually really impressive because they never break character. You can start asking them questions about the park or just, about things outside of their character. And they won't answer the questions because they're paid to not break character. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned corsets. What I do also enjoy about the Renaissance Festival is I'm quite the breast man. My wife has fairly large boobs, and that's cool. But what's really cool is the ladies who have fairly large boobs, and then they put on a corset, and it's like they create this shelf.
Yeah, it's like they look like submarines or torpedoes. I don't know how they do that.
You really just want to walk around motorboating people. Like, because it's just like a shelf that you just want to be like, bink, like just, and be like, here's $5, thank you. I'm a bad person.
If nothing else, you're at least asking yourself, how do they do that? Because it is impressive.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, we don't need to keep you all night. Obviously, your wife is either waiting to beat you or have dinner with you or something extremely, hopefully generous in any right of the words. But so congrats. Things are going good. How are just move it forward for us, and what are you looking forward to?
Actually, in a month, I'm going to do the Perry Mountain 24-hour out in Alabama. So me, Ryan Abitoy, Justin Steeds, and then a few guys from the East Coast are going to be doing that. So I'm really excited for that experience. That'll be cool. Obviously, the rest of the WORCS series, I'll be doing 24 hours of Glen Helen out here too. But honestly, just enjoying the rest of the year with my friends and family and just having a good time.
Very cool. Well, as always, we really appreciate you spending the time coming on the show with us. We won't make it as much of a span between shows next time. But the thing is definitely document all the new nerd stuff you pick up, so that we can really, dissect all the weird new things you get into on the next show. How's that sound?
I'll get a list together full with bullet points. Maybe I'll make a presentation.
I like it. Hey, you guys like my PowerPoints? Check them out. Dig it. Cool, man. Well, you guys have fun. We really appreciate your time.
All right, thanks. Always fun being on.
Later.
See ya.
All right. Man, Mopar, you got to ask that kind of stuff while the guest is still on. What are you thinking? We're kind of starting to transfer over. So we're going to get Cody Webb to come on here. We want you guys to go ahead and get your questions into the chat room. Steven, how have things been looking on Twitter? Have anybody been responding for...
Yeah. It looked like it. There was a bunch of Twitter stuff popping up.
A bunch of Twitter stuff popping up. So I don't know yet if we have a winner. But what I do know is that there's still a chance for you guys to get out there. So at @SeatTime_CO, put that picture up one more time, Steven, if you wouldn't mind. So this picture right here of Eric Kudla with his Dirt Tricks Ironman sprocket on. We want to know what you think. How many hours does that sprocket have on it? And if you can even name the miles, I might be able to get a front sprocket thrown in for you. I doubt it. But hey, well, let's go. It's Twitter. You can say whatever you want. 140 characters. So get in there. Do it. So, Yeah, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. All right, so we're getting Cody Webb. So Fly Racing, if you have not watched Seat Time before, they are the supporter of Seat Time. They were there from the beginning. They found us like 4 episodes in, sent us a couple T-shirts, and they were like, hey, thanks for drinking and talking about dirt bikes because nobody does that enough. Well, I have to admit, definitely this year has been a lot less drinking for me. I am trying to stay in a little bit better shape as things get forward for the Baja Rally, and just level setting a little bit for a little while. So, old drunk Woody might show up every now and again, but we're going to try to keep him in the closet at least for a little while. But the good thing is about Fly Racing, they make extremely high quality products. They're extremely supportive of the sport that we are in, and they want to make sure that you're having a good time out there, and that's why they support shows like Seat Time. So again, get into the chat room, tlk.io/Seat Time, and with that you can ask your questions, and we're going to come up with the best question, and we're going to give away one of their fantastic polo shirts. I don't even have a polo shirt. I'd wear it to work if I did, because not that I have to wear polos, but I wear them every now and again. So I think they're pretty nice. One of the ways that you could go find this, though, like I like to say always, where are these products? So flyracing.com is the website, and in the top right, you're going to see the navigation. With that navigation, you can go over to casual. Casual is going to drop down to shirts. In shirts, you're going to see down in polo. That is what you want to find and what you want to use. So we definitely appreciate not only Fly Racing for being a supporter of Seat Time, but for supporting all of the swag that you guys get a chance to win. So get in the dang chat room and do it. Right, Cody Webb?
Right. I missed whatever you were talking about.
That's sure. Fine. Just agree to it and say, Seat Time is awesome.
Seat Time, it's where it's at.
Bam. Save that for later. We're making a clip out of it. Man, so that's the hard part about doing video with this kind of stuff, is it's very hard for us to come back and remember where certain things are so that we can come make clips out of them later on. We really need to do that, though. Like, get you famous people to be like, Seat Time is so cool, you need to watch it every Tuesday. And then we can save that and use it,
For future.
Yeah, because if we couldn't use it in the past, because that would be, I don't have a time machine. I don't. I was hoping you were going to go somewhere with that, but apparently I'm the one who has to be creative here, Cody.
I don't know how to help you with that one.
So here's one thing you can help me with. I like to talk about our supporters on the show, but the good thing is that you are sponsored by one of our supporters, Stillwell Performance. So how much did they help you perform the way that you did as you got your first Endurocross win of the season?
Well, Stillwell came out to my house maybe about a month ahead of time, and we spent a couple days riding my Endurocross track, going to Fox Shocks, and a day out on the moto track, dialing in some suspension for the year. We made some changes from last year, and evidently we went the right way.
Were those changes made, the ones you're talking about that you made last year, were those the ones that you did while you were winning the TKO?
Yeah, I won the TKO on a different setup than we did this year. We ended up changing our base setup from last year and a little bit stiffer to wear it because we want to go faster.
Stiffer to go faster.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my wife that, but remind her that we don't want any more kids. Man, your teeth, every time, they just get me. They're so white. Like, even the white trees I can see in the sun behind you, your teeth just still shimmer.
Should I move the screen, or are we all right?
Oh, no, we're fantastic. You look beautiful. So we've been trying to get you on the show for a while, but unfortunately you've had Tuesday night classes, which I think you scheduled on purpose just so you didn't have to come on the show. Very, very upset about that.
I pretty much try and bail out as often as possible, you suckered me in tonight.
I did. That's because I offered you virtual high fives. I don't know. Actually, you're just a nice guy, so I appreciate that. But let's talk about this, because you've had some pretty good successes throughout the off-season of Endurocross. You came away with the win at the end of the season last year in Vegas, which I was at. That was super fun. We could even talk about that. That was a good time. And then you've had some successes as well after the fact during the Endurocross off-season, and now you come away with the win. I mean, you're kind of starting things off on the right foot, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Well, maybe on my left foot, because my right foot's the broken one.
That's
so I
true.
started off on the left foot.
I like it.
And, had definitely a solid, great start to the season. A little, obviously I expected to go in and get a win, but to get it the way I did was definitely a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, very, very commanding. Was it you lapped all the way up to 4th or past 4th?
I think we lapped up to 3rd, so I got past 4th.
That's pretty impressive. You almost got to be on the podium twice.
I just about got there. Wonder how that would work.
Well, here's your first place trophy, and here's your 3rd first place trophy. I don't know. Yeah, that would be very awkward.
Yeah.
Very disconcerting for the person in 3rd, unfortunately. So, break it down how the season started with Endurocross, because I think a lot of people, because it's been on the West Coast for so long and hasn't really traveled across the country in a while. Obviously, it's going to be in Atlanta, outside Atlanta later this year, which is great for us on Central and East Coasterners. But were there any big changes to the events? Were there any new things on the track? Were there any new, things in the layout of how they do the evening and the hot laps and all that kinds of stuff?
There's a couple changes this year from last year. This in Vegas, there was different parts of the track, different aspects of the track, and also they added like a new feature where you get like kind of added bonus championship points in the heat races. So if you win a heat race, you get an additional bonus point. So I think they're doing that to kind of spice it up. A lot of times when guys make it in the main event, they go, okay, I'll just take it easy, and now you're fighting for every championship point. And we got hot laps right before the main event, and that's kind of bragging rights. You got to throw it down, try and get the first gate pick position, and plus on that, you get another added bonus point towards your championship overall season points. So they just kind of added things up to spruce it up and keep the racing action a little more exciting. And this year, the track in Vegas, it seems like I'm the only guy who liked it, but when you win, you're happy. I'm sure if those guys won, they wouldn't complain about it either. But, it's Endurocross. It's supposed to be hard and nasty. We're not doing a fast-paced GNCC motocross track with doubles. I'm sorry. You got to have a true indoor extreme off-road racing. Isn't that what Endurocross is?
Yeah, that's what I would define it as. Speaking of nasty, gnarly, technical, that V'd-up wood pile, that was intense. I would love that to be an obstacle that I could go play with in a field without anything else around it, so I could practice on only
maybe
it.
Some hay bale,
yeah,
maybe.
But holy shit, if you're supposed to hit that at speed with people next to you, all elbows out and shit, like, what the deuce? Like, how was that? That must have been pretty intense.
Yeah, that obstacle was crazy. Like when I was watching the stands, I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like it looks really fun. And I got down there on track walk, and I'm looking up at this thing. I'm like, man, I'm pretty tall, and that thing's higher than me. So it was a little nerve-wracking. But the hardest part wasn't getting up it; was getting down the other side. I'm so tall, I feel like I was going to go over the bars every time, even though I got my butt past the fender, trying to keep myself from going over. But it was definitely a cool, fun new obstacle, and you come out at full speed and it slows you down and kind of gets you discombobulated for the next rock turn section. So it was cool. I think a lot of riders liked it. Whoever didn't make it over and crash their bike probably wasn't too stoked. But most of the guys all in the afternoon, evening part of the race had no troubles with it. It's more about like an exciting thing to fans, and it's a new thing in the series we've never seen before. So I think it's cool that they're finding new obstacles to keep it spicing up a little bit.
Yeah. So do you miss the head log, the log that they had put up to try to take someone's head off?
Oh, that thing was not necessary for sprucing up the racing.
Oh, that thing was awesome. So tell us about some of the other obstacles. Look, the water pit, fire pit, some of the big rock turns. I mean, does all that feel traditional Endurocross? Does it feel like they found a way to change it up? Is it all about the layout? Kind of how did they? Is there any differences there?
I'm really glad they didn't have the wood pile turn. I don't think anyone likes those where they just have the chunks of wood. And you got to basically do a 90 or 180-degree turn, and basically it's just crappy to deal with.
Right.
No one likes it. But the rock turns have always been the same. This year they had a little bit of elevation in the big rock turn pile, which changes it up, especially when it gets wet. It's hard to get up and out of there. And the first time we've seen it this year, usually there's always a big jump into the water hole where you kind of jump off the lip and flat land in the water and splash the hell out of yourself and everyone else, and jump a log, and you land a flat it's never that exciting for the rider, but it probably looks cool for the fans. But
it looks cool.
This year coming into the water hole, there wasn't a jump. They just kind of built a big divot right in front of it, and you kind of do like a trials move, like called a splatter, where you just wheelie slam into it. So that was cool to see a new variation on that. And I think it was a mixed feelings on the riders. It's always cool to jump and stuff, but I think we were all a lot happier that we weren't soaking wet and didn't have to change our gloves after every single practice and heat race and all that.
Right, because you're coming in it so much slower because you just kind of splatted into it. And
yeah.
I hear you. A couple questions from the chat room. One of them from Crash217J said, you said something earlier about suspension testing on a motocross track. Does he, or is it the... Wow, this English is horrible for me, apparently. Does he, or is it the norm for Endurocross pros to use motocross as practice?
I think quite a bit of riders do ride moto for practice. Me, coming from a trials background, that's something I never grew up doing. I don't have aggression. I wear my little pajama pants and slippers and kind of dance around on the rocks, and there's no aggression really going on. It's just you against the terrain. And I really picked up a huge amount of my results when I started going out and riding moto tracks. And my first time on the track, you wouldn't have known that I was a top 10 Endurocross guy, because I was a complete squid and didn't know what was going on. And just within like the last 2 years, I've kind of really picked it up. And it's really helped with aggression. Your conditioning gets good because you're just going hard, the whole time, and you get to battle with other riders in turns and practice other lines. So for me, the most important thing was just speed and aggression. And some of the other riders are doing it. I'm sure, guys like Mike Brown, he really doesn't need to go to a motocross track and train. He's got that figured out. Taylor Roberts has got that figured out. Gary Sutherlin. But, some of the more technical-oriented guys, it might be good to go out and pound some laps and get some speed and aggression going. So you're shaving seconds off in between obstacles and not just in the obstacles themselves.
Oh, I like it. The only reason I giggle is because somebody put trials equals spandex-clad Power Rangers.
What are they right?
Spandex-clad Power Rangers. Have you heard that one before?
I have not.
Oh, that's actually fun. What kind of descriptions or descriptive sayings have you heard about the way that trials riders dress? And I know it's function over fashion for sure, but what are some of the fun things that people have said about that?
You get sausage suit a lot. So
interesting.
Sausage suit.
I think we just found a show title.
Sausage time.
Sausage suit.
But it's definitely functional to wear all those tights and trials, and the air breathes to you a lot nicer. You're not going very fast, so
Yeah, and I think a big thing too is like, people ask me why I wear spandex when I mountain bike, because I don't race any of that kind of crap. It's like, well, I've tried wearing a lot of the looser gear, like some of the baggies that have a chamois and stuff like that, and I try to move like forward and backwards on the bike, and I'll get caught. You can feel it catching on your seat. You just can't move as well, and that's why. Like, honestly, I feel more comfortable in the spandex because of moving around the bike. Now, sure, I don't have the biggest junk, and it doesn't look all that pretty, but suck it. I'm the one riding the bike and having a good time. So, right?
I'll give you credit. I wear tights on my mountain bike and road bike, so we're in the same game there.
Yeah, but I don't have a broken foot, and I'm definitely not an Endurocross pro. So your excuses are better than mine.
My foot's not broken anymore.
That's true. It was the broken one.
Yeah.
Let's not start rumors.
Yeah.
Maybe we should. Well, what else, Cody Webb? Your beta looks sick.
I know. The wheels are awesome. The bike's dialed. They built the bike for me, and fortunately, beta's only like under 2 hours from my house, so we picked it up, and I rode it 3 days before the first race, broke the suspension in, and it felt good coming into the first round. Bike was awesome, and didn't get the best starts, but when you're able to push and feel like fitness is there and the bike's set up good, you can go all out for 12 laps, and things worked out perfectly
and
for me.
almost get on the podium twice.
Almost.
What about another question from the chat room? Tire setup and/or recommendations for a first-time Endurocross racer.
So, unfortunately, you can't buy the tire I'm running because that would be optimum. We got those gummy tires that Endurocross makes, and I know they talked to Brock Lever, and he's trying to get them to actually make the tire as a model they sell to the public, just for the average trail rider guy, because it's a huge advantage. But I up until then, I was just running a standard MX-51. I haven't tried the new MX-52. I don't know if they're available yet, but Dunlop MX-51 was a great intermediate terrain tire, and I also was running the MX-81 for a while, and that worked pretty well on the rocks and seems to not chunk like sometimes the 51 will do after a while.
Right. The 52 is available now. I know that people have been talking about getting them in. Now, does that mean that shops can order them or that they're in the shops? I don't know the real answer to that. But I wonder, because they do have the neat knob within a knob, and that seems like it would help really well for Endurocross, a situation like that where it's, Yeah,
it allows the knobs to flex a little more and grab around the obstacles. And what you could do is what I used to do before I was getting those sweet sticky tires was slice the knobs, and that gives you extra flexion, I guess, and helps with hooking up on all the slippery stuff.
Yeah, Jacob Argubright did that for me when we were at the Friends of Fast Ride. Unfortunately, my technical skills just sucked ass in Vegas, so him slicing up my tire really didn't do any good because the rider was the problem, not the bike or the machine. It's very unfortunate, but that's okay. The bar needed me. I needed to be at the bar. That was fine with me.
The bar was calling your name.
It was. Those Chronic Cokes were awesome. So, another question from the chat room. Do you really think that the 300 is better than the 350? And I'm assuming 300 two-stroke versus 350 four-stroke.
Yeah. Well, now I go back and forth still on that question. I ask myself that at least once a week. But, obviously I've stuck to the two-stroke 300. And I think the best advantage of that is, I don't have to run electric start, so it saves a bunch of weight right there with the wires and battery and motor. So I'm saving weight on the two-stroke initially, and I'd scrap all electric start, and you can start the bike up first kick if it's been upside down for 5 minutes. And on the four-stroke, it's going to be hard to want to scrap off all that electric start stuff because you're already at a disadvantage with the weight, and being on the two-stroke is just throws the bike around so much easier. So for Endurocross, the power of the two-stroke, the way it delivers, it hits, but the 300 has a lot of torque, and I rarely ever stall my bike, and I basically put it in second gear, and second gear is so versatile on those 6-speed transmissions that I just ride the whole track in second. And the 350 has a great motor with a lot of pull and torque and really good off the line, but I've kind of find I was battling it in the rocks, and the 300, I'm a big guy, it's light, the bike's light and nimble, and I just put it wherever I want. And especially in any type of extreme enduro event or something, two-stroke's the only way to go. I've ridden both, and after being on the four-stroke and hopping on the two-stroke, you save throughout a couple hours worth of riding, you save so much energy of think about every turn, how much more weight you got to move around, how many turns you are on a course. You're saving a lot of weight all day, and that keeps you fresh at the end of the day.
Yeah. Speaking of the extreme enduros, what's that look like for you this year, your schedule? You've done fairly well as you've kind of continued to compete in things like Hell's Gate and such. So do you have more of those lined up for yourself this year?
Yeah, so far this year I did King of Motos, Hell's Gate, and unfortunately I ate it really hard and retired a helmet after that one because I kind of was a little cuckoo. But I got Erzberg up on the list, so I'm going to Erzberg here in a couple weeks, so I've been road biking, trying to get my butt in shape for pushing all day. And
That's a smart move.
I'm trying to be prepared for that, and it looks like I'll probably be doing that last dog standing race this year. I've never been able to make it, and I'm not sure the date on it, but they got the race at Glen Helen, so that'll be a good one, and I'll be back for the TKO.
You will be back to the TKO. That's fantastic news. We have, I think, somewhere between 10 to 15 Texas guys going to that event, including myself. So we will be competing to be traction on the Sunday amateur classes. So it'll be pretty interesting.
Just hope it doesn't rain. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's true.
If it rains, you're going to be in trouble.
I know. Oh, I'm on row 7 of the amateurs. I have 0 expectations. Actually, my expectations are to become traction for people. So if I don't, then I'm like winning. Literally, I'm going to be like #winning as people go by and they're not landing on me. So it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my goal for that weekend. So you think you're going to get the win again and continue the non-bridemaid?
The problem is I keep getting all these wins, so I got the pressure on me now, which kind of sucks, but I feel like I got the confidence to know I can, be at the top running up front. And last year I really had a successful ride there at the TKO, and I know the place from riding there in trials, and I know how slippery it can be when it's wet. So, I think I have an advantage and some confidence going into it. So I'd love to stack up another win there.
Very good to hear. I will be cheering you on. I am staying in one of the media cabins with Shan Moore, so I do have some media duty to do on Sunday. So as soon as those are done, I'll have a beer with you when you're winning. I would love to be there on the side of the trail while you're racing with a beer and just spraying you as you go by. Because that's how I roll.
I don't want that in my goggles though when I'm racing.
That's true. I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I'm typically that guy, but I don't want to be that guy. I don't know. We're just going to have to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
You keep turning me down about seat time. You might be getting shit in your eye.
I'm here right now.
I know. I love you. You're such a cute. Oh, you're such a nice guy. Yes. We did have a couple more questions. They were talking about GNCCs and enduros in the chat rooms. Kind of, obviously, we were just talking about extreme enduros. There's a big difference between an extreme enduro and your more traditional enduro, be it either European time format or just kind of the more national format. So what about enduros and GNCCs? You've done a GNCC before, haven't you?
Yeah, that was before I ever even rode moto, so I was horrible.
Right.
I learned my lesson.
Like, holy shit. What class were you in when you did that? What class did you run?
Well, I would have ridden XC2.
Right.
But they didn't have a 250, so I rode XC1.
Woo! How was that?
The first lap, I got an okay start. Oh no, I rode a Beta 400. I never even ridden a 400 before. I borrowed a bike from Justin Sode.
Yep.
And the first lap, I did pretty good through the trees. And I rode at Loretta Lynn, so it's not really that technical, I didn't think. And I popped out on the motocross track running 6th the first lap. I'm like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. And then we got on the moto track, and everyone passed me, and I went from 6th to 10th in such a short time frame. I'm like, holy crap, these guys haul ass on the moto. What the hell? So then that got to my head, and then I got arm pump after that, and then I was wide open down some straightaway, and there was how they get the mud and the ruts there.
Yep.
There was a little creek. There was a little creek crossing, and all the mud. Somehow I didn't see it because I don't know what's going on in these races. But there was a concrete culvert pipe, and I hit it in third gear wide open and went flying over the handlebars. So
done.
But I finished the rest. I was only on the beginning of the second lap, and I finished the rest of the race with a broken subframe and a bent exhaust. So I did at least got through it, and then I would be more prepared now, but that's not something that I really find to be my forte. And I spoke with Tim Pilge at Beta USA, and it looks like I'm going to be riding, I think, the Colorado National Enduro. And Enduros are kind of a little bit more fitting to my riding style and what I grew up doing. And I want to be like more of a versatile rider than just Endurocross and extreme enduro. And
Right.
being a strong enduro rider on top of that would kind of help with my exposure. And I plan on doing that and see where I'm at, and maybe next year trying to do both the Endurocross and National Enduro Series.
Very cool. That's very cool to hear. So just thinking about that and knowing that when people go into these enduros, you know, they're zero go, okay, cool, and they're sprinting for anywhere between 6 to 10 miles, you know, and stop, go, okay, in kind of these 6 tests in a very sprint style format. How are you gonna try to train different for that? And if you are, what are your thoughts on that?
I really don't think there's anything too much different from Endurocross, because we sitting on the line and then boom, wide open for 12 minutes as fast as we can go on stuff that's not the same kind of riding, but it's way tighter and more compact. I feel like I know some of the races back east are really tight with the trees, but I'll probably still continue what I'm doing now, doing moto, going out riding extreme stuff, riding an Endurocross track, and all of that should be a good mix for that kind of stuff. And just making sure I'm staying on the bicycles and keeping long time conditioning fitness up, because those races are obviously lasting a lot longer of a time than Endurocross. But
Yeah.
The most crucial thing is being able to keep your heart rate low and that high interval stuff.
Cool. Well, no, yeah, I know a lot of people ask about training when it comes to the pros and stuff like that. So for you kind of coming into one, as an off race for you, it's interesting to know. I know it is for me and for other people, kind of your thought process going into it. So that's kind of why I ask about that.
12-ounce curls.
Well, I just went through mine, so. What was it? A question in the chat room. How do you like the Serious Extreme NARM mud as a trials rider? And he specifically referenced Hell's Gate style crap in parentheses.
So I like mud and I hate ruts. So it's a weird mixture. But I grew up without really riding in too much ruts, because on a trials bike, no one's sitting down just powering through mud. So if it's anything slippery and nasty without ruts, I can read the terrain and figure out and find traction. When ruts are involved, I don't know if it's my long legs or I get like a mental block in my head. I can't figure it out. But in California, it's kind of hard to practice with mud. It rained like 8 times this winter, and it really sucked in terms of play riding and riding my rut tracks and turn tracks and stuff. So it's a little difficult to do, but luckily I can find little creeks with water in them, but nothing really extremely muddy.
Right. I understand that. So, quickly, X Games coming to Austin. They're going to be there for 3 years. That's 3.5 hours away from my house. I'm going to be there with the fam. Bought my daughter and I tickets. We're going to go watch. It's going to be a great time. What have you heard? Have you heard anything about this year's X Games EnduroX track?
So I saw a track map. It looked pretty good. It's hard to judge off a track map because the layout's the same, but they usually mix stuff up compared to what it's drawn up to be. And from what it sounds like, it'll be faster than Vegas. So maybe some of the other guys will be happy. I don't know. But, I obviously been riding a lot of moto, and I'll be prepared for anything that's thrown at me. And, it's going to be faster, probably a bigger open scale, probably be outdoors. I have no idea. But I guess we'll figure out when we get there. Maybe you can break through security at X Games. They're pretty tight, and walk the track with us.
Hey, that'd be pretty cool. What's interesting, so here's my dilemma. And you don't have any children, so you may not understand this, but it is a dilemma in my book. So I bought tickets for my daughter and I to go because I knew my wife was going to be with the 2 younger kids. I was like, cool. But Miki, who I believe is she helps out with the X Games and stuff like that, she was like, hey, you need to put in for a media pass. I think I can help, get you through the door. I was like, okay, cool, that'd be cool. So I got access. I got accepted to have a media pass for X Games for Endurocross. And I was like, awesome, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then I'm like, well, crap. I was like, my daughter knows, like, we're going, like, to Austin as a family. Like, this is something we were going to do together. So I'm kind of like, have this weird dilemma where I'm like, crap, like, this is the largest press credential I will have ever been allowed to have to this point. But then at the same time, this is like, shit. I was like, I wanted to do this with my daughter and show her, why I've been going, what I've been, the races and stuff I've been going to. Like, these are the guys I go talk to. This is this, that, the other. Like, so I don't know, man. It's kind of like, it's gonna be cool to watch you guys race regardless, but that sucks. It's an interesting dilemma to have. It's like you get the best of one or best of the other.
The best unfortunate dilemma.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been interesting. I've really tried to find a way to get into the X Games. I want to help. I would love to do some broadcasting with those guys, and I know they picked those people way beforehand, but that's the one thing I find that there never is enough of is real flavor. Like, people that are knowledgeable about the sport and know how to.
You got Saul Muscella, who's no one knows where he came from, and he's been in every single X Games event since day one. I don't.
You know how? I asked him. I tweeted him, and he told me. He's like, I was working for ESPN, and when they announced X Games, I walked into the room and told them that I wanted to be the host.
Damn.
And they had no clue what they were getting themselves into, so they just were like, okay.
Here you go.
There you go.
And look at him now. Everyone knows who he is, and I don't know where he came from.
Yeah, and nobody. Yeah, no. I mean, he literally was like, I was just a dude that was like, this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna do it. And they were like, oh, okay. And now, 20 years later, I definitely cannot walk into a room and tell anybody that at X Games. Which is unfortunate, but hey, that's the way it is. We're trying to talk with Eric. We're talking with Eric Pernard. I was pretty disappointed they didn't have a webcast. Even they could have put a GoPro up somewhere and they didn't need anything to be talking. They just needed something so people that wanted to know what was going on could kind of watch and just pay attention to. And they had nothing. So I was like, dude, what happened to the webcast? And he was like, oh, it was too expensive, couldn't keep it up. I was like, hey, we've got live broadcasting down. We can do live broadcasting. There's obviously some things that come along with going to a remote location that is not your typical location that we have to work out. But I was like, we can do a live broadcast. Like, so he's kind of got me working through an estimate right now, and I'm like, holy shit. So,
well, at least you got your foot in the door to get it going, and it's obviously good for all the racers. It's good for you guys because everyone's going to watch it through you, and everyone wants to see Endurocross, and everyone's bummed every time. Like, oh, it's not on TV, it's not on the internet. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't control this, but it looks like maybe now.
Go to seattime.co, bitches. What's up? I don't know. That'd be pretty cool. All right, so let's end this way. Stillwell Performance is a fantastic supporter of Seat Time, and I do my best to bring reasons why people should at least go to the website and contact them. Everybody, tons of people out there have tried to do suspension work. They've talked to different people about who works on this, that, the other. But you're somebody who's tried, true, and tested on the work that they do and the time that they put in to make your setup so good. So the people who are out there listening right now and paying attention, what's the big selling point of going to stillwellperformance.com, checking out the Contact Us forum, and reaching out to these guys about possible either parts, suspension work, or even, different kinds of aspects of what they have to offer?
Well, I mean, we've got 4 of the last 5 Endurocross wins, so that might be an option. And that's coming on a bike that no one really knows or can ride on, like, has ridden, and we got it figured out with Alan. So, that's a good selling point. And he's willing to talk with people and work it out, and he's got those sweet linkage guards that he helped design with Fastway. So protect your linkage, keep your bike lasting longer. And, he's just a great guy and always trying to help people out, and he's a huge fan of racing, loves racing, and that's probably why he loves doing it the most, is just to be a part of the program at the races.
Yeah. All points that I love, because the fact that when I did get my suspension done on my KTM by Still Performance, it was a fantastic interview that we had. So not only was there a rider form that I had to fill out that gave him a bunch of questions then to ask me, he went on the phone, asked a bunch of questions, set up a suspension, came back, was awesome.
I hope you didn't lie about your weight.
Well, I mean, I don't think so. You know how I get. Don't make fun of me. I'm fat.
Sorry.
It's okay. My wife makes fun of me all the time. She's like, "Stop checking yourself out in the mirror." I was like, "But I can't help it. It's so nice." So, and then you're talking about the different parts that you can order. What I really love is the adjustable linkage guard. And what's neat about this is a lot of people, when they came out with the linkage KTMs, including myself, were like, holy shit, this thing's a chopper. And then you got to drop your forks or bring your forks up. So then you're starting to lose wheelbase length and stuff like that. Well, with those linkage guards, you can adjust for that. You've got 4 different settings with the little chips. I like to call them pucks. They call them chips. So whatever. Little chips in there with those adjustable linkage guards. So super, super neat product. And you don't get hung up anymore on your KTM because honestly, you did. You really did with those for whatever reason.
Nice secret of the trade is, spray a bunch of WD-40 on there before the race and you'll just glide across all the rocks.
I like it. Too bad I still can't even make it up to the rocks to glide then over them. One day. I'll figure it out, I swear. Endurocross keeps kicking my ass, but one day, not only will I be a beer drinking host, but I won't be a beer drinking rider, but I'll be kicking ass somewhere else. It's gonna happen. All right, well, dude, we really appreciate the time. Is school over for you, or are you just on a day break, or what's the deal?
It's dead day today and tomorrow because finals start Thursday. So I'm done. Did a huge some huge design analysis project. I got everything clear. I'm good to go to ride and train and have fun whenever I want now. So now I'll be ready for all the races.
Dig it. Well, when are you? Oh, we'll talk about this offline. Just think of the answer to the question of X Games and when you're coming in, and we'll talk about that later. Well, cool. Well, you tell us. Is there anything else that's on your mind that you like to share on Seat Time, or are we pretty much just racked your brain dry for the moment?
I don't know. I'm not really too much else going on. Just having a good time, riding my bicycles, making my way through school slowly but surely, and just having a good time at the races. And confidence is high. It's a good feeling to have, and I'm feeling good this year, and looking forward to the rest of the season and hanging out with you guys at Austin, and hopefully sneaking in backstage. Maybe you can meet Sal himself. Ask him personal pointers.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, can I have your autograph? Maybe a high five? What's your major? Somebody heard you talking about school in the chat room, and they didn't know what your major was.
Mechanical engineering.
Oh, so you're going to be a fast rider and a smart guy.
Yeah, it's pretty much an engine nerd, Nick Farringer and I. Well, Nick's already got his degree, but...
Which not many people know.
I know. So, good job, Nick. I'll give you props because this stuff sucks.
He's like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I hear you. Well, cool. As always, we definitely appreciate you being on the show, taking some time to come talk, moto with us for a little bit and goofing off. We really appreciate that. And good luck, man. We'll definitely chat offline about when you're coming in and what's going to be going on. But, yeah, it'll be fun to see you guys in person again and introduce you to my daughter. And she can be like, oh, my God, these guys put up with my dad. Go you.
I'll bring some posters from her.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We appreciate it, man. You have fun out there, and don't do anything too crazy, all right? Stay healthy.
All right, perfect.
Later, man.
See ya.
Awesome. Well, it's always fun to have Cody Webb on. Definitely, the first time he came on, I think we named the episode the Pearly Whites, and it's just because his teeth. It just keeps those things immaculate, and I'm surprised that he doesn't have the volcanic ash that Robby Bell does to do that, but it's interesting nonetheless. So, we've had Robby Bell on and Cody Webb. Before we kind of start to finish up here, I definitely want to go ahead and look through some of the questions from the chat room and see if anybody in there really sticks out to me about possibly having some of the best questions for this Fly Racing Award. Steven, if you wouldn't mind giving those a scroll, I'm going to chat here quickly about our new sponsor. So here's the guys from Dirt Tricks. So around 2002, their owner kind of started, he's like, you know what, I'm tired of eating through all these aluminum sprockets. I want to make something that isn't a dinner plate like all the steel sprockets that were out there. And he did. He found a way. I believe, now I'm definitely not the guy that's going to be able to memorize all this kinds of fun stuff. What I do, and you guys know this, is I talk about the people that make products that are going to make your life easier and better, and they're people that are fun to hang out with when you're riding a dirt bike. And that's what I think this product does, or the products that they produce. They produce extremely high quality sprockets for your dirt bike. Obviously, they make their own little bolt kits that go with it. And they've got discs for your brakes. So they're very, very specific, pointed products to make your dirt bike riding experience that much better. And why do I say it like that? They make it that much better. Well, they make a sprocket that doesn't wear. I mean, it just does not wear. We'll talk about it in a little bit on how many hours Eric Kudla currently has on the sprocket that he has on his bike. And if you have not submitted your answer on Twitter yet, definitely do that now for the picture that we showed earlier. But it's things like that. So you could put these sprockets on your bike and they will just last. I think they say that you can put one of their front sprockets on with the rear sprocket and the chain, and it'll be 2 front sprockets will go through two front sprockets and 2 chains before you'll even start to see wear on the rear sprocket. And the reason that is with the front sprocket is because the front sprocket spins so much more because obviously it's so much smaller than the rear sprocket on the bike. All great things, wear. Awesome, that's cool. But the best part about this sprocket is how almost indestructible it is. So they're willing to have a 1-year warranty to where if you can show wear on this sprocket, they will replace it. Now I can only imagine that there's guys up in talking on Twitter and Instagram, guys up in Missouri, that they can't, with all the rocks up there, that they run these sprockets specifically for the fact that they don't bend. They'll hit all these rocks and stuff like that, and they'll totally trash aluminum sprockets, but these steel sprockets run awesome. So that's what you want to check out. Oh, and we even have, don't forget Dirt Tricks chain measuring tool. It's the shit. There you go. Dirt Tricks has a It's the Shit chain measuring tool. So all kinds of fun stuff that these guys are doing. So definitely you can go check them out at dirttricks.com is the website. You can please reach out to them if you're going to purchase anything. See if they will give you a discount. We haven't discussed that part of everything yet, but you can purchase things through their website. Tell them you found out about them on the show, and it'll be a good way to do that. So, Steven, should I just go ahead and say what the hours are, or should I wait till after the show and check and see if anybody got close? I'm going to wait. Don't worry. Whoever won, we're going to reach out to you. So the dirttricks.com, go check them out. We definitely appreciate them being a new supporter and sponsor here on Seat Time. Cool guys. That sounds like a great product. Hopefully it's just because of the way that I sold it, Tom. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's just because of the way that I sold it. So what did you find there in the chat room, Steven?
Well, we got a couple.
Okay, bring them up. What do you think?
We've got one that led to big conversation.
Ooh.
Which is the Disney question.
Okay.
You're not going to get that anywhere else.
That's true.
Or
Yeah, with the wands and I'm going to go find my wand at the Harry Potter store and stuff.
And then we got the differences in the suspension testing for Endurocross versus MX.
The differences in suspension cross. You know what? I did see a comment earlier on from someone in the chat room that said this is not the kind of stuff you're going to get in a dirt bike magazine. You know what I mean? And I think it was in relation to when we were talking with Robby Bell. And I think that leads me to say that the one about Disney is the winner. And I say that because yeah, this is why I do this show and I don't just read those magazines. I do read all those magazines. But in this case, these guys let me into their world and they let me ask these questions and we get into these crazy fun topics where we just talk about stuff in their life. And I think it's interesting because sometimes there's just these people just aren't professional motorcycle riders. They're typically athletes and professionals in most of the stuff they do in life, and I think that that's what interests me the most about these people is you listen to them and talk to them. Like, look at Destry Abbott. That guy is just a professional at everything he does. The way that he just attacks life, works with his family, the DA8 training stuff he's got going on. So, and I know that these guys are the same way, and that's what I like getting out of all this kinds of stuff. So, there you go. Everybody's talking about video freezing.
Yeah, I just noticed that too.
What, did it say anything on our end?
I'm seeing nothing here.
What's your phone do?
Play crappy, low quality already.
Is it still playing?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to check it out. Sorry about that. So if you guys need to catch it on the archive, we really appreciate you tuning into the end. So who was it that asked the Disney question in the chat room? B. Williams. So
B. Williams, something.
I have a feeling that he just won something recently. Yes, he did. Crap. FaceTime, seat time. Yep, he was in the chat room and he won something before too. Thanks for producing the awesome show. Well, Brian Williams, you're welcome. So you would have won again. But we don't like to do that. So we'll go with the other one. What was the other one? We'll just do the other winner for that one.
Let's see.
Crash 217J. So, dude, if
Suspension testing.
So with the suspension question test, an awesome question. We really appreciate you paying attention. You are going to get some fly racing swag. So what we need you to do is please go to facebook.com/seattime and send us a message there, and we will get your information and we will send it on over to our friends over at Fly Racing, and they will get you your awesome product. And again, I am going to check out everything on Twitter when the show is over, and I am going to pick a winner for who is closest to the amount of hours that Eric Kudla currently has on his Dirt Tricks Ironman sprocket. And of course, we could not be doing this without our great supporters. So obviously the guys over at Fly Racing giving away all this great product, helping us produce this show by supporting us. The guys over at Solo Performance, helping out guys like Cody Webb come with so many wins recently. The last 4 out of 5 Endurocrosses have been won by him and Stillwell Performance. I think that says a lot. Obviously, we're super excited with Dirt Tricks being on. And for those of you who are wondering, Fast Company is a sponsor of Seat Time. We will be talking about flex bars next week on the episode, so we kind of swap out a couple every now and again, but that's just the way we have to work it out. It's not a big deal. We definitely support all of our sponsors and supporters. Next week, I am going to start talking a little bit about the Baja Rally and the experiences that I've been going through trying to prep for that. I haven't specifically started building the bike or training, but we will begin to talk about guys like I'm working with the guys over at Conflict Motorsports and things like that. So we're going to start to hint towards the fun that's going on towards that and what we're going to be doing with it. So we really appreciate that. So Seat Time, you can find us at our website, seattime.co, if you'd like to hit us up there. That's where we archive everything. Of course, we are on Facebook. It's facebook.com/seattime. We're on Twitter. It is at seattime_co. We're on Instagram as regular old Seat Time, no space. YouTube is Seat Time CO. It gets a little weird here, sorry guys, but you can just go to YouTube and search for Seat Time and find us. We do archive everything there. Obviously, the live events go through YouTube, which is fun for us there. Yeah, this has been a fantastic episode. We've been able to chance to talk with Robby Bell, Cody Webb. Thanks for everybody doing the freaking chat room. We really, really appreciate that. Yeah, Crash is calling him out. He's not winning. Don't you worry, buddy. And it's been a good time, so it's been appreciative. This is episode 127. Remember to always enjoy a pint full of awesome. And if I were to give another hint away about anything to look forward to in the future, I would have to say that in the next couple weeks, there may be a couple updated photos on Facebook. After that, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Peace.